I have a confession to make. Ever since the midterms back in November, I have been in a crappy mood about politics. And since I'm almost never in a bad mood, I've been asking myself why. What was it about the midterms that bothered me? I knew it was coming. I remember saying during one of the backstage shows, I remember saying, I'm really going to enjoy this Kavanaugh confirmation because I know the midterms coming and we're going to lose seats in the House and it's not going to be nice and then I'll be depressed. So I'm going to enjoy it while it's there. But when it came, I thought, what is going on? Why am I so grumpy about politics? I've thought about it, and it's not the left that's bothering me because the left has basically left the American building. The left thinks if you go out and work hard to make money to better your life, they should decide how to spend that money because they're just that much better than you are. So to hell with them. It's the right that annoys me. It's our guys, the conservatives. It's the rich suburban Republicans who didn't show up for Trump, and they gave power to socialists by voting for these make-believe moderate Democrats because they thought Trump was such a blustering bore. And it's the women who ignored the fact that their families are safer and more prosperous under Trump, and they voted for radicals because Trump is naughty and he's mean and he says nasty things. And then there are the theorists and commentators, and I know that each man and woman has to follow his or her conscience, but I just feel at this point, when they start to talk and talk and talk about Trump's character, they are wallowing in self-protective sanctimony. They don't want to get Trump stains on their philosophical purity. This amounts to Seinfeld conservatism, a movement that is now about nothing, a movement that seeks to accomplish nothing because it's too busy lamenting the fact that Trump won and he's not the guy they wanted. Listen, Donald Trump, I've said it a million times, he's a great big character with great big flaws. So what? He's doing a terrific job. He's doing things conservatives have been trying to do for decades without succeeding. And he knocked over the other Republican candidates like they were ninepins, which tells me that the other Republicans weren't reaching the voters. Now, you may remember the voters. They're the people you have to convince in order to have an effect on the politics of America. It is great to sit in your office or behind your microphone and pontificate on what the world should be and how super great the old days were. But again, so what? This is politics. It's dirty. It's tough. You don't have to like Trump. I don't always like Trump, and you don't have to approve of him. But if you don't fight the fight you're given, you're actually not fighting at all. And more importantly, you are making me cranky. So knock it off. Donald Trump tonight is going to make a speech from the Oval Office on border security. And I want to examine this because I want to talk about what politics is really like. What politics is really like, not what it's supposed to be like, not what we wish it was like, but what it is really like. We don't know what he's going to say. He hasn't decided yet whether he's going to declare a state of emergency, which would be probably illegal. He probably wouldn't get away with it, but it might convince his base that he's doing what they want him to do. It shows that he's fighting the good fight to get his wall. Let's look first at the reality, what's happening at the border. Illegal immigration has been falling at the border since about 2000. It peaked around 2000 with about 1.5 million illegals came in. Last year, it's been about 500,000. But the change has been, the reason it is now a crisis is because as the countries in Central America are falling apart, as their governments are collapsing, because people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are running them, because they're collapsing, people are desperate to get out. And so families are coming over. So it's usually been like men who come across the border and they do work, or they're criminals or they're gangsters or whatever they are. But now there are these families. We haven't got the capacity to deal with them. It's not Trump's fault. Trump didn't make these countries collapse, and he didn't set up the rules as they are. And he is only using the tools he's got to deal with this massive influx. And that's why you're getting the pictures of the sad children being separated from their parents, because the law says you've got to hold people who ask for asylum. You've got to hold them for a hearing, but you can only keep the kids in the holding cells a certain amount of time. Then you have to release them. And that's how the separation is happening. Not Trump's fault. He's doing what he can to deal with it. But in order to solve this problem, and the problem that has been going on for decades at the border, Trump promised a wall. So he needs a wall. The Democrats, who are talking absolute garbage about abolishing ICE, about establishing sanctuary cities where people can hide out if they've broken the law. This is how people are getting killed, because in California, they couldn't report an illegal gangster and then he shot a cop. This is what the left is talking about. But in real life, if these people are adults and responsible, there's a deal to be made. They can get amnesty for the dreamers, the people who came in here before they were old enough to make a decision. They were brought in by their parents. and give Trump a wall. Give Trump a wall. And then in between those two things, which are kind of minor points, I know those are the emotional high points, but they're minor points. In between those things, you rejigger the system. You make it so you cannot just come in and declare asylum and get a hearing. That's ridiculous. You make it, you have to come into certain points. You have E-Verify. You make it harder for people to get illegals to get jobs. You basically tighten the security and make the system logical. That's how politics works. Trump needs the wall because he promised the wall, because the base asked for the wall. Will a wall work? Walls seem to work pretty well. They work in my house. People don't walk into my house because there are walls on it. I mean, walls do seem to work. They work in Europe. They work in Israel. Give them a wall. It's not going to kill you to give them a wall, and give them the dreamers. I know that there are people, absolutists on the right, who say, no, we can't give amnesty to anybody. This is politics. You compromise. That's how you do politics. Instead, all we hear about is, that Trump talks in hyperbole, that sometimes the things that he says aren't true. This is from the right, and what a bad character he is, and he did this and he did that, and Mueller says this and Mueller. Who cares? Who cares? If he gets impeached and the Senate convicts him and throws him out, I'll wave goodbye. That'll be too damn bad, because it'll be a long time before we get a guy as effective as he is. Is his character good? It's good enough to be courageous and fight for what he wants. It's good enough to get the conservative policies. George W. Bush had a better character. Did he do as much? No way. No way. He extended entitlements. He had wars around the world that are not, that's not a conservative doctrine. If we are going to have this Seinfeld conservatism and all it cares about is looking good and basically standing up for these ideals that cannot be put into practice, we're going to be about nothing, and we're going to accomplish absolutely nothing. And I'm going to be in a bad mood, and I don't like that. So it's got to stop right now. The press is a mighty, mighty force in this country. I think it is one of the true forces for bad in this country. And I'm an absolutist in believing in a free press. I think they are abusing their freedom. I don't think there's a damn thing we can do about it except hold them to the light until they're forced to reform out of sheer embarrassment and the fact that we turn away from them. If the press is selling the idea that only they should be able to shape opinions, if Donald Trump cannot even speak to the people without the press threatening to cut him off, if Donald Trump is doing essentially what's right, which is reestablishing the rule of law on the border, reestablishing the rule of law in the judiciary, cutting back the regulations that have strangled our economy, lowering the taxes that have that have damaged our corporations, that left it in the House is already talking about raising taxes on corporation like 30%, which is insane and would destroy our economy. If he has done all these right things, listen, don't waste so much of your time talking about what you don't like about him. I mean, I get it, but still, if that is your conservatism, if your conservatism is about protecting your reputation, if it is about keeping your nose clean, it is Seinfeld conservatism. It is a movement that is no longer about anything. A movement that is about something has to accomplish things. It has to appeal to the voters. It has to use the people we're given. We don't have a choice of president. We don't have a choice right now of changing the president. This is our president. We should support him. We should support his wall because he needs it to stay in office and do the things that he needs to do. It is really annoying. It is really annoying to watch us letting the left set the agenda and set the narrative, and we just go along with that flow. It is time to fight them every step of the way, even if it means getting your hands a little dirty along the way.